Hey everybody, Brian Evans here with RealEstateInvestorCoach.com, coming at you with another fantastic video lesson to help you grow your real estate investing business and make a ton of money in this current market that we're in. If you're not a Real Estate Investor Coach Insider, then the very first thing I want you to do, either now or after you're done watching this video, go to RealEstateInvestorCoach.com, enter your first name and email address to sign up to become an insider. In addition to becoming an insider, I'll also give you a free CD and report called Foreclosure Crisis into Cash Fortunes, a $19.95 value, which I'm going to give to you for free, and I'm even going to throw in a bonus, but you got to sign up in order to get it. Okay? So now I'm going to move straight forward to today's lesson, and the title of today's lesson is The Magic Words to Making Money in Real Estate. This is so important to your business, you have no idea. So bear with me. I've got 15 awesome slides here, and I'm going to jump right into it. First thing you need to understand, what holds people back? Well, there are lots of things that hold people back, but the primary things are this: the fear of the unknown, not knowing what to say or how to respond to somebody, and facing objections from sellers and buyers. The whole gist of this lesson today is going to be dealing with sellers. So you're going to be the buyer of properties. The magic words that we're going to be talking about and using here are going to be the ones that you're going to use when you're trying to buy a property from someone. But the fact that people, there's a difficulty and there's trouble with communication. And the thing with communication is people fear having to talk to other folks. People fear one of the biggest fears, if not the biggest fear, I believe, statistically, is having to get in front of an audience and speak to people, give a speech or presentation. The same thing is similar. And people have the same types of fears when they're working and communicating with people about buying their property. It's the fear of they're going to say something that or misspeak or get asked a question that they don't know the answer to, or so forth. But I'm going to try to help cure this fear here today. Okay, so let's jump right into it. First things first. You need to know what kind of seller you're dealing with in regards to how you may be able to purchase their property and make money with it. So you need to know what type of seller it is, and you need to gather the facts about the seller based on the numbers and so forth, okay? So basically what all this entails is you need to know how you're going to be able to purchase it based on the facts that you acquire, and how you can then turn around and turn that purchase into an exit and make money with it. Short sales, subject to, seller finance, wholesale, retail, option are just a few of the ways that you can buy and sell properties, but those are the primary ways here, so we're going to really kind of focus on those here. But you need to really understand how you can purchase a property and how you can exit from a property in order to have a good conversation and a good exchange of words with the person you're sitting across from, in order to convince them or persuade them or build enough trust and rapport with them so that way they feel comfortable enough to want to do business with you. So first things first, you need to understand the basics of how you're able to buy and sell these properties, okay? By understanding your purchase options and your exit strategies, you'll be able to handle these conversations with sellers based on your understanding of how you can make a profit on the deal. This is very important. That's what I just said. You need to know the numbers. So the first thing you need to do is gather the facts, know your numbers. Before you can effectively communicate your offers, you first need to know the numbers. You need to know the following: the ARV, the asking price, the loan balance and status, and repairs needed. ARV being the after repaired value. What would the property appraise for at its highest and best use? What's the asking price? What are they asking for the property? So you can compare those two. If the ARV of the property is 100 and they're only asking for 80, well, you know that there's some flexibility there. What's the loan balance and status? If they owe 50,000 and their payments are current, or if they owe 100,000 on that property and their payments are behind, then it helps you understand how you may be able to purchase it and what type of conversation you can have with the seller, and also what types of repairs are needed. You just want to get an understanding and get a ballpark from these sellers. Basically, you're going to ask the sellers these questions: what would the house appraise for? What are you asking? What's your loan balance? What's the status of your loan? Are the payments current or behind? And how many repairs are needed? By simply asking these few questions, you'll be able to determine the type of purchase and potential exit strategy you could negotiate here, and therefore you'll be able to determine how your conversation needs to go and the right questions you need to ask on how you can buy the property. Here are some phrases, some keywords, some scripts, and so forth that I want you to steal from me, because these are fantastic and I use these in my business, okay? And I'm just going to kind of go through these rather quickly. I've got quite a few of them that I want to share with you. So first thing, thanks for providing me with your information. I have a few ideas on how I can buy your house. First of all, would you like to sell your house for what you owe on it? Would you be willing to sell your house for what you owe on it? If the answer to this question is no, then we'll move on to the next slide. We'll then ask this. If I were to pay you all cash and close when you're ready to close, what's the least that you'd be willing to take for the property? Okay. After they give you their number, you want to automatically go back to them with the following question. Is that the best you can do? Okay. You're always going to try to get the best number you possibly can. This is called negotiating. And you want to always negotiate in your best interest. So once they tell you the number, is that the best you can do? Then you're going to pause for a moment. You may even want to give a sigh or something and say, so you're telling me, Mr. Seller, that if you don't get blank for the house, then you're not going to sell the property. Is that correct? And then they'll probably say yes or no, and you'll be able to gauge based on their response kind of what level of motivation they have. So it's very important that you ask these questions. And again, what comes out of your mouth goes into your bank account. So it's very important that you say the right things. Also, it's something that just came to my mind. I want to touch on here is what you don't want to do is you don't want to get diarrhea of the mouth. Also, sometimes saying less is a lot more. Say the right things and then shut up and let them answer. Okay, very important. Okay, here's some more phrases. Well, let me ask you this, Mr. Seller. If we can come to an agreement on price, would you be willing to wait for your equity or take your equity in payments? If they say yes to this, then that's great. You know you've got a flexible and motivated seller. And depending on if there's an underlying loan or if they own their property free and clear or so forth, will allow you to determine how you can potentially buy it. If the seller is willing to work with you on payments, work with you on accepting payments for their equity and so forth, then you know you've got somebody where you could potentially buy the property subject to or buy the property with seller financing, both extremely phenomenal ways to buy properties. Now I would like to talk about some objections. I've got a couple slides here on objections because I know that's another thing that you're probably concerned about and would fit right along very smoothly with this lesson, is answering objections, because every seller is going to have objections, so you need to know how to best respond to those. One objection might be this. Okay, Brian, well, how long have you been doing this business? Well, that's a great question. I've been doing this business for 5 years, and my number one goal is to always create a win-win relationship. So I don't want to do business with each other unless we're going to be able to create a win-win relationship. So not only are you answering their question, but you're also shifting their train of thought by the additional part that you put in there about creating a win-win relationship. Okay. Another objection. Well, how do I know I can trust you? Well, that's a good question. Do you have any reason not to? And then you want to pause for a moment and say, frankly, if doing this deal is something that might keep you awake at night, then we probably shouldn't move forward, because I want you to do what's in your best interest, period. And if and again, if it's going to keep you awake at night, then we probably shouldn't do this deal. So it's a way of answering the question and being blunt and being frank, but simply turning it around in a way where it really doesn't seem so harmless, or where you seem very harmless, where it seems like, yeah, I kind of like your response. I'd like to maybe consider doing business with you. Another objection. Well, why don't I just use a realtor? Well, that's great. You're welcome to use a realtor. I'm not a realtor. I'm just an investor, somebody looking to buy a property. But I was under the impression that you wanted to sell the house, not list the house. If you want to list it, sure, you can use a realtor. But if you want to sell it, well then, and if you're looking for a serious buyer, then I'm right here and I'm ready to go when you are. So it's another way of answering their objections. This is probably a question that might come up more frequently than not, and this is a great response to use if it does. Another objection. Well, what do you charge to do this business? Well, first of all, this is off the topic. I'm going to get off here for a moment. You shouldn't be charging anything to buy people's properties, negotiate short sales, foreclosures, anything like that. Definitely don't charge any deals. So what do you charge? Well, one of the great things about me is I don't charge you a penny, and I usually pay all closing costs, so you don't have to come out of pocket 1 red cent. Okay, that's a great response to this objection. Here's one that you might get, and one that might make you a little nervous. I'd like to have my attorney look it over. Do you have a problem with that? Well, my first response would be, well, is there something that I didn't explain well enough? And what part would you like me to go over again? So you kind of try to just shift their thinking real quick by going back over and trying to highlight the benefits of the transaction. And if they still insist on showing the attorney the paperwork, then give them blank documents of the paperwork to take, not filled out paperwork, and just let them go and show their attorney. If the deal falls through, it falls through. Just leave the door open. So that way, if they still want to move forward, they can. Most of the time, they probably won't even show the attorney. And lastly, some closing tips. I'm running out of time. Think of your objection responses before getting on the phone. Always answer a question with a question, and you need to conquer this fear of communication in order for your business to soar. This is Brian Evans. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I will talk to you soon.